Welcome back. Now let's move together into today's passage. Rebekah got ready, and with her helpers, she climbed onto the camels, setting off to follow Abraham's servant. This journey would lead her to a new life with her future husband, Isaac. The servant took Rebekah, and they began their long travel back to Canaan. One evening, Isaac was out in the fields, walking and meditating. As he looked up, he saw a caravan of camels approaching in the distance. At that same moment, Rebekah looked up and saw a man walking toward them. She got down from her camel and asked the servant, "Who is that man walking in the field to meet us?" The servant replied, "That is my master, Isaac." Upon hearing this, Rebekah took her veil and covered her face, a sign of modesty and respect. When they met, the servant eagerly told Isaac the whole story, how God had led him to Rebekah and how her family had blessed their union. With joy, Isaac brought Rebekah into his mother Sarah's tent. She became his wife, and he loved her deeply. This love brought him great comfort and healed the sorrow he had felt since his mother's passing. After Sarah's death, Abraham married another woman named Keturah, and they had several sons. In his old age, Abraham wisely arranged his inheritance. He gave everything he owned to Isaac, his promised heir. To the sons of his other wives, he gave gifts and sent them to live in the lands to the east, away from Isaac, to prevent any future conflict. Abraham lived a long and full life, reaching the age of 175. He died peacefully and was gathered to his people. His sons, Isaac and Ishmael, came together to bury him in the cave of Machpelah, the same place where he had buried his beloved wife, Sarah. After Abraham's death, God's blessing was upon Isaac. He settled and lived near a well called Bir Lahai Aroi, the well of the living one who sees me. For many years, Isaac and Rebekah had no children, as Rebekah was unable to conceive. So Isaac prayed earnestly to the Lord on behalf of his wife. God heard his prayer, and Rebekah became pregnant. But her pregnancy was not easy. She felt a constant, violent struggle within her womb. It was so intense that she cried out, "If this is so, why is this happening to me?" She went to inquire of the Lord to understand what was going on. God gave her a prophetic answer. He said, "Two nations are in your womb, and two peoples from within you will be separated. One people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger." When the time came for her to give birth, she indeed had twin boys. The first one came out red and was covered with hair, so they named him Esau, which sounds like the Hebrew word for hairy. Then his brother came out, his hand grasping Esau's heel, so they named him Jacob, which means he grasps the heel, or he supplants. The boys grew up with very different personalities. Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the open country who loved the outdoors. Jacob, on the other hand, was a quiet man, preferring to stay at home among the tents. Their parents had different favorites. Isaac loved Esau, especially because he enjoyed eating the wild game Esau brought home. But Rebekah loved Jacob. One day, Jacob was cooking a hearty lentil stew. Esau came in from the open country, completely exhausted and famished. "Quick, let me have some of that red stew. I'm starving," he said to Jacob. Jacob, seeing an opportunity, replied, "First, sell me your birthright." The birthright was a significant inheritance given to the firstborn son, including a double portion of the family's wealth and the position of family leadership. But Esau, caring only about his immediate hunger, said, "Look, I am about to die. What good is the birthright to me?" So he swore an oath to Jacob, selling his birthright for a simple meal. Jacob gave him bread and the lentil stew. Esau ate and drank, then got up and left, showing just how little he valued his sacred inheritance. Sometime later, a severe famine struck the land, just like the one in Abraham's time. So Isaac moved his family to Gerar, which was in the territory of Abimelech, king of the Philistines. The Lord appeared to Isaac there and gave him a clear instruction. do not go down to Egypt. Live in the land where I tell you to live. Stay in this land for a while, and I will be with you and will bless you." God reaffirmed the promise he had made to Abraham, saying he would make Isaac's descendants as numerous as the stars and give them all these lands. Isaac obeyed God and settled in Gerar. When the men of that place asked him about his wife, Isaac was afraid. Rebekah was very beautiful, and he thought they might kill him to take her. So he told them, "She is my sister." But one day, King Abimelech was looking out his window and saw Isaac caressing Rebekah. He realized they were not brother and sister. He called Isaac and said, "She is your wife. Why did you say she was your sister?" Abimelech then issued a strict command to all his people: "Anyone who harms this man or his wife will surely be put to death." Protected by the king and blessed by God, Isaac planted crops in that land, and in the same year he reaped 100-fold return because the Lord blessed him. He became very wealthy. His wealth grew and grew until he was very prosperous. He had large flocks of sheep and goats, great herds of cattle, and many servants. His success, however, made the Philistines envious. They began to cause trouble, filling in all the wells that his father Abraham's servants had dug years before. Abimelech eventually asked Isaac to move away, saying, "You have become too powerful for us." So Isaac left and camped in the valley of Gerar. He reopened the wells that had been dug in his father's time, the ones the Philistines had stopped up. He gave them the same names his father had given them. His servants also dug a new well in the valley, but the local herdsmen quarreled with them over it. Isaac moved on and dug another well, and they quarreled over that one too. Finally, he moved on again and dug a third well. This time, no one quarreled over it. He named it Rehoboth, saying, "Now the Lord has given us room, and we will flourish in the land." From there, Isaac went up to Beersheba. That very night, the Lord appeared to him again. He said, "I am the God of your father Abraham. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. I will bless you and will increase the number of your descendants for the sake of my servant Abraham." This divine reassurance filled Isaac with peace. He built an altar there and called on the name of the Lord. He pitched his tent, and his servants dug another well. Seeing how much God had blessed Isaac, King Abimelech, along with his advisor and the commander of his army, came from Gerar to visit him. They wanted to make a treaty of peace. Isaac hosted a feast for them, and the next morning they swore an oath to each other, promising not to harm one another. On that very same day, Isaac's servants came and told him, "We've found water." They had successfully dug a new well. Isaac named it Sheba, which means oath, and that is how the city got its name, Beersheba, the well of the oath. When Esau was 40, he married 2 Hittite women, Judith and Bashemath. This decision brought great grief to his parents, Isaac and Rebekah. They were deeply unhappy about his choices. Years later, when Isaac was old and his eyesight had failed, he called for his elder son Esau. "My son?" he said. Esau replied, "Here I am." Isaac continued, "I am an old man now, and I don't know the day of my death. Please, take your weapons, your quiver and your bow, and go out to the field to hunt some wild game for me. Prepare it the way I like it, and bring it to me to eat, so that my soul may bless you before I die." Rebekah was listening and overheard everything. Isaac said to Esau. As soon as Esau left for the hunt, she went straight to her younger son Jacob. "Listen," she said, "I just heard your father tell Esau to hunt game and prepare a meal so he can give him his blessing before he dies. Now, my son, do exactly as I tell you. Go to the flock and bring me 2 of the best young goats. I'll prepare them just the way your father loves. Then you will take the food to your father, and he will eat it and bless you instead of your brother." Jacob was hesitant and anxious. "But my brother Esau is a hairy man, and I am a man with smooth skin," he argued. "What if my father touches me?" He will realize I am deceiving him, and I will bring a curse upon myself instead of a blessing." But Rebekah was determined. "Let any curse fall on me, my son," she insisted. "Just do as I say. Go and get the goats." So Jacob obeyed his mother. He went and got the goats, and Rebekah prepared the savory food, just as Isaac liked it. Then she took the best clothes of her older son Esau, which were in the house with her, and put them on Jacob. She covered his smooth hands and the smooth part of his neck with the goatskins to mimic Esau's hairy texture. Finally, she handed Jacob the delicious food and bread she had prepared. Jacob went in to his father and said, "My father." Isaac responded, "Yes? Who are you, my son?" Jacob lied, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Please sit up and eat some of my game so that you may give me your blessing." Isaac was suspicious. "How did you find it so quickly, my son?" he asked. Jacob replied, "The Lord your God gave me success." Still uncertain, Isaac said, "Come near so I can touch you, my son, to know if you are really my son Esau or not." Jacob went closer, and Isaac felt him. "The voice is the voice of Jacob," Isaac murmured, "but the hands are the hands of Esau." He didn't recognize him because his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's, so he prepared to bless him. "Are you really my son Esau?" he asked one last time. "I am," Jacob confirmed. Then Isaac said, "Bring the food to me, and I will eat of my son's game, that my soul may bless you." Jacob served him, and he ate. He also brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, "Come near now and kiss me, my son." As Jacob kissed him, Isaac smelled the scent of his clothes, the smell of the fields, and he finally blessed him. He said, "May God give you of the dew of heaven, and of the fatness of the earth, and plenty of grain and wine. Let people serve you, and nations bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be everyone who blesses you." Just as Jacob had left his father's presence, with the blessing still fresh, his brother Esau returned from his hunt. He too prepared a delicious meal and brought it to his father. "Let my father arise and eat of his son's game, that you may bless me," he said. Isaac, startled, asked him, "Who are you?" "I am your son, your firstborn, Esau," he replied. Isaac trembled violently. "Who was it then?" he stammered. "Who hunted game and brought it to me? I ate it all before you came, and I have blessed him, and indeed he will be blessed." When Esau heard his father's words, he let out a great and bitter cry. "Bless me too, my father," he begged. But Isaac said, "Your brother came deceitfully and has taken away your blessing." Esau was filled with rage and sorrow. "Isn't he rightly named Jacob?" he cried out. "This is the second time he has taken advantage of me. He took my birthright, and now he's taken my blessing." Then he pleaded again, "Haven't you reserved any blessing for me?" Isaac answered, "I have made him lord over you, and all his relatives I have given to him as servants. What then can I do for you, my son?" Esau wept. "Do you have only one blessing, my father? Bless me too." Isaac finally relented and gave him a different blessing. He told Esau that his dwelling would be away from the richness of the earth and the dew of heaven. He would live by the sword and serve his brother. But Isaac added, when he grew restless, he would break Jacob's yoke from his neck. From that day on, Esau held a deep hatred for Jacob because of the blessing. He said to himself, "The days of mourning for my father are near. Then I will kill my brother Jacob." When Rebekah heard of Esau's plan, she immediately sent for Jacob. "Your brother Esau is consoling himself with the thought of killing you," she warned. "You must flee at once to my brother Laban in Haran. Stay with him for a while, until your brother's anger subsides and he forgets what you have done to him. Then I will send for you." Before Jacob left, Isaac called him, blessed him again, and gave him specific instructions. "Do not marry a Canaanite woman," he commanded. "Go at once to Paddan Aram, to the house of your mother's father Bethuel. Take a wife for yourself there, from the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. May God Almighty bless you and make you fruitful and increase your numbers until you become a community of peoples. May he give you and your descendants the blessing of Abraham, so that you may take possession of the land where you now reside as a foreigner, the land God gave to Abraham." So Jacob left Beersheba and set out for Haran. As the sun was setting, he stopped for the night. He took one of the stones from that place, put it under his head, and lay down to sleep. He had a dream in which he saw a stairway resting on the earth, with its top reaching to heaven, and the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. And there, standing above it, was the Lord. God spoke to him, "I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham, and the God of Isaac. I will give you and your descendants the land on which you are lying. Your descendants will be like the dust of the earth, and you will spread out to the west and to the east, to the north and to the south. All peoples on earth will be blessed through you and your offspring. I am with you and will watch over you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you." When Jacob awoke from his sleep, he thought, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I was not aware of it." He was afraid and said, "How awesome is this place! This is none other than the house of God. This is the gate of heaven." Early the next morning, Jacob took the stone he had placed under his head, set it up as a pillar, and poured oil on top of it. He called that place Bethel, which means house of God. Then Jacob made a vow, saying, "If God will be with me, and will watch over me on this journey I am taking, and will give me food to eat and clothes to wear, so that I return safely to my father's household, then the Lord will be my God. This stone that I have set up as a pillar will be God's house, and of all that you give me, I will give you a tenth." And with that promise, Jacob continued his journey, a changed man on his way to a new life, carrying a divine promise. This is the story of Jacob and his two wives, Rachel and Leah. Our story begins with Jacob, a man on the run, arriving in the land of his ancestors. After a long journey, he comes across a well in a field. Around it, 3 flocks of sheep are resting. A massive stone covers the well's mouth, and Jacob learns from the local shepherds that it's a team effort to move it. They all have to gather before they can water their flocks. Jacob, ever the opportunist, starts asking questions. "My friends, where are you from?" "We're from Haran," they reply. "Do you know a man named Laban?" Jacob asks, his heart likely pounding. "Yes, we know him," they say. "And look, here comes his daughter Rachel with the sheep." The moment Jacob sees Rachel, it's a scene straight out of a movie. The Bible says Rachel was beautiful in form and appearance. Jacob is so smitten, so overcome with a sudden burst of strength, that he single-handedly rolls away the massive stone, the one that usually required all the shepherds to move together. He waters his uncle's flock, and then, in a rush of emotion, he kisses Rachel and bursts into tears. He finally explains who he is, her cousin, the son of her aunt, Rebekah. Rachel, stunned, runs home to tell her father. Laban, hearing that his sister's son has arrived, rushes out to meet him. He embraces Jacob, kisses him, and welcomes him into his home. It's a joyful family reunion. Jacob stays with Laban for a month, helping out around the farm. After a month, Laban brings up the topic of payment. He says, "Just because you're my relative doesn't mean you should work for free. Name your price. What do you want your wages to be?" Now, this is where the story takes a fateful turn. Laban had 2 daughters. The older was named Leah, who is described as having weak or gentle eyes, which could mean they lacked sparkle, or perhaps she had poor eyesight. The younger daughter, as we know, was the stunning Rachel. Jacob was head over heels in love with Rachel, So he makes Laban an offer. "I'll work for you for 7 years in return for your younger daughter Rachel." Laban agrees, saying, "It's better that I give her to you than to some other man. Stay here with me." Jacob was so deeply in love that the 7 years of hard labor felt like just a few days to him. Time flew by, fueled by his anticipation of marrying the woman of his dreams. When the 7 years are finally up, Jacob goes to Laban and says, "My time is complete. Give me my wife so I can marry her." Laban throws a massive wedding feast, inviting everyone from the area. The celebration goes late into the night, but under the cover of darkness, Laban pulls a classic bait and switch. Instead of bringing Rachel to the wedding tent, he brings his older daughter, Leah. Jacob, likely in the dark, and perhaps after a bit of celebrating, doesn't realize the deception until the next morning. When the sun rises, Jacob is horrified. He sees Leah lying next to him, not Rachel. He storms to Laban, furious. "What have you done to me? I served you for Rachel. Why did you deceive me?" Laban's excuse is a cultural one. He calmly explains, "It is not our custom here to give the younger daughter in marriage before the older one." But then he makes Jacob a new offer. "Finish this bridal week with Leah, and we will give you Rachel, 2 in return for another 7 years of work." Think about that for a moment. Jacob is trapped. He's already married to Leah, but his heart still belongs to Rachel. What can he do? He agrees to Laban's terms. He completes the wedding week with Leah, and then Laban gives him Rachel as his wife as well. Jacob has finally married the woman he loves, but at a steep price. A wife he didn't ask for, and another 7 years of servitude. From this point on, the family dynamic is set. The Bible is clear. Jacob loved Rachel more than Leah. This favoritism created a heartbreaking rivalry between the two sisters, a silent, painful war fought in their home. And God, it says, saw that Leah was unloved. So God intervenes. He opens Leah's womb, and she gives birth to a son. She names him Reuben, which means see a son, saying, "The Lord has surely seen my misery. Surely now my husband will love me." But Jacob's heart doesn't change. Leah has a second son, Simeon, which means one who hears, because she said, "The Lord heard that I am not loved, so he gave me this one too." Still, Jacob's affection remains with Rachel. Then comes a third son, Levi, meaning attached. Leah hopes, "Now at last my husband will become attached to me, because I have borne him 3 sons." With her 4th son, Leah's perspective shifts. She names him Judah, which means praise, and she says, "This time I will praise the Lord." It seems she's starting to find her worth not in her husband's love, but in her relationship with God. After Judah, she stopped having children for a time. Meanwhile, Rachel is in agony. She sees her sister building a family, securing her place in the household, while she, the beloved wife, remains barren. Her pain and jealousy boil over. In a moment of desperation, she confronts Jacob, crying out, "Give me children, or I'll die." Jacob, frustrated and hurt, lashes back, "Am I in the place of God, who has kept you from having children?" It's a tense and painful moment between them. So Rachel resorts to an ancient custom. She gives Jacob her handmaiden, Bilhah, to be a surrogate mother. "Sleep with her," Rachel says, "so that she can bear children for me, and I can build a family through her." Jacob agrees, and Bilhah has a son. Rachel names him Dan, meaning he has vindicated, saying, "God has vindicated me. He has listened to my plea and given me a son." Then Bilhah has a second son, and Rachel names him Naphtali, meaning my struggle, declaring, "I have had a great struggle with my sister, and I have won." Seeing this, Leah, who had stopped having children, decides to play the same game. She gives her handmaiden Zilpah to Jacob. Zilpah has a son, and Leah names him Gad, a name that means good fortune. Then Zilpah bears a second son, and Leah names him Asher, meaning happy, exclaiming, "How happy I am! The women will call me happy." The competition is now at a fever pitch. The household is filled with the cries of babies, but also with the silent tears of two competing sisters. The rivalry even spills into bizarre negotiations. One day, Leah's oldest son, Reuben, finds some mandrake plants in the field. In ancient times, mandrakes were believed to be an aid to fertility. Rachel, desperate for anything that might help her conceive, sees the plants and begs Leah, "Please give me some of your son's mandrakes." Leah, full of resentment, retorts, "Wasn't it enough that you took my husband? Will you take my son's mandrakes too?" In a stunning move, Rachel makes a deal. "Very well," she says. "He can sleep with you tonight in exchange for your son's mandrakes." So that evening, Leah meets Jacob as he comes in from the fields and informs him of the arrangement. God listened to Leah, and she conceived again, bearing her fifth son, Issachar. And she had a sixth son, Zebulun. Finally, she gave birth to a daughter named Dinah. After all this time, all this pain and rivalry, the story circles back to Rachel. It says, "Then God remembered Rachel. He listened to her and enabled her to conceive. After years of waiting, Rachel finally gives birth to a son of her own. She says, 'God has taken away my disgrace,' and she names him Joseph, which means, 'May he add.' With this name, she prays, 'May the Lord add to me another son.' And so, the 12 tribes of Israel are born from this incredibly complex, messy, and yet deeply human family. It's a story that shows us how rivalry and jealousy can cause deep wounds, but also how hope can persist through years of heartache. It's a raw and honest look at the foundations of a nation, built not by perfect people, but by flawed, striving individuals. After many long years in a foreign land, Jacob finally had a family of his own. With his son Joseph born, a deep longing for home stirred in his heart. He went to his father-in-law, Laban, and said, "It's time. Please, let me go back to my own home, to my country. I've worked for you for so long. Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served you, and let me leave." But Laban knew a good thing when he saw it. "Please stay," he pleaded. "I've learned through divination that the Lord has blessed me because of you. Just name your price. Tell me what I should pay you, and I'll give it." Jacob knew Laban's ways all too well. He replied, "You know how I've worked for you, and how your flocks have flourished under my care. You had little before I came, and now you have a multitude. The Lord has blessed you wherever I've been. But now, when will I provide for my own household? What shall I give you?" Laban pressed. Jacob had a clever plan, one rooted in faith. "You don't need to give me anything," he said. "Just do this one thing for me, and I'll continue to tend your flocks. Let me go through all your animals today. I'll take every speckled and spotted goat, every dark-colored lamb among the sheep, and all the spotted and speckled goats. That will be my wage. In the future, my honesty will speak for itself. When you come to check on my wages, if I have any goat that isn't speckled or spotted, or any lamb that isn't dark-colored, you can consider it stolen." Laban, thinking this was a fantastic deal for him, agreed immediately. "Good, let it be as you say." But that very same day, Laban went and removed all the male goats that were striped and spotted, and all the female goats that were speckled, and spotted every one that had a bit of white on it, and all the dark-colored lambs. He put them in the care of his own sons, and then put a 3-day journey's distance between himself and Jacob. Jacob was left to care for the rest of Laban's flock, the plain, solid-colored animals. Now, Jacob did something unusual. He took fresh-cut branches from poplar, almond, and plane trees, and peeled white stripes into them, exposing the white inner wood. He placed these peeled branches in the watering troughs, where the flocks came to drink. He set them right in front of the animals when they came to mate, and a strange thing happened. When the flocks mated in front of the striped branches, they gave birth to young that were striped, speckled, and spotted. Jacob separated these lambs for himself. He also had a strategy for the breeding. When the stronger, more robust animals in the flock were in heat, Jacob would place the branches in the troughs in front of them, so they would mate near the stripes. But when the weaker animals were mating, he wouldn't put the branches out. This way, the stronger offspring belonged to him, and the weaker ones remained Laban's. Through this divine blessing and his own clever husbandry, Jacob grew exceedingly prosperous. He accumulated vast flocks, along with male and female servants, camels, and donkeys. His wealth became impossible to ignore. Soon, the whispers started. He heard Laban's sons muttering, "Jacob has taken everything that was our father's. He has built his fortune from our father's property." And Jacob saw it in Laban's face too. The warmth was gone, replaced by a cold resentment. It was then that the Lord spoke to Jacob, "Go back to the land of your fathers and to your kindred, and I will be with you." The time had come. Jacob called his wives, Rachel and Leah, out to the field where his flocks were. "I see that your father's attitude toward me has changed," he told them. "He is not the same as he was before, but the God of my father has been with me. You both know that I have worked for your father with all my strength. Yet he has deceived me and changed my wages 10 times. But God did not allow him to harm me. If he said, 'The speckled will be your wages,' then all the flock bore speckled. And if he said, 'The striped will be your wages,' then all the flock bore striped. So God has taken away your father's livestock and has given them to me." Jacob continued, telling them of a dream where God himself showed him the striped, speckled, and spotted rams mating. God had said to him in the dream, "I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed a pillar and made a vow to me. Now arise, get out of this land, and return to the land of your birth." Rachel and Leah listened, and their response was swift and unified. "Is there any portion or inheritance left for us in our father's house? Does he not see us as strangers? He has sold us, and he has completely used up the money paid for us. Surely all the wealth that God has taken from our father belongs to us and to our children. Now then, whatever God has told you to do, do it." With their full support, Jacob acted. He put his children and his wives on camels and gathered all his livestock and all the possessions he had acquired in Paddan Aram. His destination was the land of Canaan, back to his father Isaac. Laban was away, shearing his sheep. During this time, Rachel did something in secret. She stole the household idols that belonged to her father. Jacob, for his part, deceived Laban by not telling him he was leaving. He fled with everything he had. He crossed the Euphrates River and set his face toward the hill country of Gilead. 3 days later, the news reached Laban. Jacob had run away. Furious, Laban gathered his kinsmen and set off in hot pursuit. He chased Jacob for 7 days, finally catching up with him in the hill country of Gilead. But the night before he reached him, God came to Laban in a dream and gave him a stern warning. "Be careful not to say anything to Jacob, either good or bad. Do not harm him." When Laban finally overtook Jacob, who had pitched his tent in the mountains, he was fuming. "What have you done?" he demanded. "You've deceived me and carried away my daughters like captives of war. Why did you flee in secret and trick me? Why didn't you tell me, so I could have sent you away with joy and with songs, with tambourine and lyre? You didn't even let me kiss my grandchildren and my daughters goodbye. This was a foolish thing to do. I have the power to harm you, but the God of your father spoke to me last night and warned me. I understand you left because you longed for your father's house, but why did you steal my gods?" Jacob, unaware of what Rachel had done, answered boldly, "I left secretly because I was afraid. I thought you would take your daughters from me by force. But as for your gods, whoever has them shall not live. In the presence of our relatives, search for what is yours among my things and take it." So Laban began his search. He went through Jacob's tent, Leah's tent, and the tent of the 2 female servants, but found nothing. Finally, he entered Rachel's tent. Now, Rachel had taken the household idols, put them in her camel's saddle, and was sitting on them. When her father entered, she said, "Please, my lord, don't be angry that I cannot rise before you, for the way of women is upon me." Laban searched, but did not find the idols. At this point, Jacob's fear turned to anger. He confronted Laban. "What is my crime? What is my sin that you have so hotly pursued me? You have rummaged through all my possessions. What have you found that belongs to your household? Put it here in front of my relatives and yours, and let them judge between us. For 20 years I have been with you. Your ewes and female goats have not miscarried, and I have not eaten the rams from your flocks. I bore the loss myself for anything torn by wild animals. You demanded it from my hand, whether stolen by day or by night. The heat consumed me by day and the frost by night, and sleep fled from my eyes. For 20 years I worked for you, 14 for your 2 daughters and 6 for your flock, and you changed my wages 10 times. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham and the fear of Isaac, had not been on my side, you would have sent me away empty-handed. But God has seen my affliction and the labor of my hands, and he rebuked you last night." After 20 long years, Jacob finally left Laban's house, taking his family and everything he had earned. But Laban wasn't going to let him go that easily. He chased after Jacob, and when he caught up, things got tense. Laban accused Jacob, saying, "These daughters are my daughters, these children are my children, and these flocks are my flocks. Everything you see is mine." But he knew he couldn't harm his own family. So instead of fighting, they decided to make a peace treaty, a covenant. Jacob set up a large stone as a pillar, and they gathered more stones to make a heap. They called it Galid, which means witness heap, and Mizpah, which means watchtower. Laban declared, "This heap is a witness between you and me. May the Lord watch between us when we are apart from each other. If you mistreat my daughters or take other wives, even if no one is with us, remember, God is witness between you and me." They promised not to cross this boundary to harm one another. After making a sacrifice and sharing a meal, Laban blessed his daughters and grandchildren and returned home. It was the end of a long, complicated chapter in Jacob's life. Now, with Laban behind him, Jacob faced an even bigger challenge: his brother Esau. The last time they saw each other, Jacob had stolen Esau's birthright and blessing, and Esau had vowed to kill him. As Jacob continued his journey, the angels of God met him. Seeing them, Jacob exclaimed, "This is God's camp," and he named the place Mahanaim, meaning 2 camps. This divine encounter must have given him some encouragement, but the fear of Esau was still very real. Jacob decided to send messengers ahead to Esau, who was in the land of Edom. He instructed them to deliver a very humble message. "To my lord Esau, your servant Jacob says, I have been staying with Laban and have remained there till now. I have oxen, donkeys, flocks, and male and female servants. I have sent this message to inform my lord that I may find favor in your sight." Jacob was trying to test the waters to see how Esau would react. The messengers returned with terrifying news. "We went to your brother Esau, and he is coming to meet you, and 400 men are with him." 400 men. This wasn't a friendly, welcoming party. It sounded like an army. Jacob was filled with terror. His mind raced. In a moment of panic and strategy, he divided everyone and everything he had, his family, his servants, his flocks, and his herds, into 2 separate groups. His logic was simple. If Esau comes and attacks the first group, the group that is left may escape. It was a desperate plan born from extreme fear. In his distress, Jacob turned to God. He prayed a powerful and heartfelt prayer. "O God of my father Abraham and God of my father Isaac, The Lord who said to me, "Return to your country and to your kindred, and I will do you good." I am not worthy of the least of all the steadfast love and all the faithfulness that you have shown to your servant. For with only my staff I crossed this Jordan, and now I have become 2 camps. Please deliver me from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, that he may come and attack me, the mothers with the children. Yet you said, I will surely do you good, and make your descendants as the sand of the sea, which cannot be counted for multitude. Jacob's prayer shows his complete reliance on God. He reminded God of his promises, confessed his own unworthiness, and laid his deepest fears bare. He wasn't just afraid for himself. He was terrified for his wives and children. That night, fueled by this fear and a sliver of hope, Jacob prepared an extravagant gift for Esau. He selected a massive procession of animals: 200 female goats and 20 male goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 milking camels with their young, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys and 10 male donkeys. He didn't just send them all at once. He divided the animals into separate droves and put a servant in charge of each one. He instructed them, "Go on ahead of me and keep a space between drove and drove." He gave them specific instructions for when they met Esau. When Esau, my brother, meets you and asks, "To whom do you belong? Where are you going? And whose are these ahead of you?" You shall say, "They belong to your servant Jacob. They are a present sent to my lord Esau. And moreover, he is behind us." He repeated this instruction for each servant, hoping that this wave after wave of gifts would appease Esau's anger before they even came face to face. Jacob thought, "I may pacify him with the present that goes ahead of me, and then, when I see his face, perhaps he will accept me." After sending the gifts, his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 sons across the Jabbok River, Jacob was left completely alone on the other side. As darkness enveloped him, a mysterious man appeared and began to wrestle with him. They struggled all night, a relentless back-and-forth battle that lasted until the break of dawn. The man, seeing that he could not overpower Jacob, struck him on the hip socket, and Jacob's hip was immediately dislocated. Even in excruciating pain, Jacob refused to give up. The man said, "Let me go, for the day is breaking." But Jacob, clinging to him, replied with desperate determination, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." This wasn't just a physical fight anymore. It was a spiritual battle for a blessing. The man asked him, "What is your name?" He answered, "Jacob." Then the man declared, "Your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel, for you have striven with God and with men, and have prevailed." The name Jacob meant supplanter, or deceiver, a name that had defined his life of struggle and manipulation. But his new name, Israel, meant he strives with God. It was a mark of his transformation, a symbol of his victory not through deception, but through perseverance and faith. Jacob, realizing he was in the presence of the divine, asked, "Please tell me your name." But the man replied, "Why is it that you ask my name?" And right there, he blessed him. Jacob knew he had encountered God. He named the place Peniel, which means face of God, saying, "For I have seen God face to face, and yet my life has been preserved." As the sun rose, Jacob, now named Israel, crossed over Peniel. He walked with a limp, a permanent physical reminder of his struggle and his divine encounter. His hip was broken, but his spirit was transformed. He was no longer just a clever trickster. He was Israel, a man who had wrestled with God and lived to tell the tale. This event was so significant that to this day, the descendants of Israel do not eat the tendon that is on the hip socket in memory of Jacob's struggle. This night of wrestling changed everything, preparing him for the reunion he had dreaded for 20 years. Have you ever been terrified to face someone you've wronged? Imagine dreading that moment for 20 years. That's exactly where Jacob was. He'd cheated his twin brother, Esau, out of his birthright and blessing 2 decades earlier and fled for his life. Now he's on his way back home, and guess who's coming to meet him? Esau, with 400 men. You can just feel the tension, can't you? Jacob is convinced this is the end. He's about to pay the ultimate price for his deception. In a last-ditch effort to protect his family, Jacob arranges them strategically. He places his 2 handmaids and their children at the very front, the first line of defense. Behind them, he puts Leah and her children. And at the very back, in the safest position, he places Rachel and Joseph, the wife and son he loves most. It's a pragmatic, if a bit harsh, move from a man in full-on panic mode. With his family arranged, Jacob walks out ahead of everyone. He's the one Esau wants, so he'll face him first. As he gets closer, he bows to the ground not once, not twice, but 7 times. It's a gesture of complete submission, a plea for mercy. He's no longer the schemer. He's a humbled man at his brother's mercy. And then, the moment of truth. The air is thick with suspense. 400 men are watching. Jacob's entire family is holding their breath. But what happens next is something no one could have predicted. Instead of drawing a sword, Esau runs. He runs straight to Jacob, throws his arms around his neck, and embraces him. The 2 brothers, estranged for 20 years by betrayal and fear, just hold each other and weep. All the anger, all the resentment, just melts away in a flood of tears and forgiveness. It's one of the most powerful scenes of reconciliation in all of literature. After their emotional reunion, Esau looks up and sees the large crowd behind Jacob. He asks, "Who are all these people with you?" And Jacob, with a heart full of gratitude, replies, "These are the children God has graciously given your servant." One by one, the family members come forward and bow respectfully before Esau. First the handmaids and their children, then Leah and her children, and finally Rachel and Joseph. The family that Jacob tried to hide is now presented with honor. Esau then brings up the massive herds of goats, sheep, and camels he had encountered on the road. Jacob had sent them ahead as a massive gift, a bribe really, hoping to appease Esau's expected anger. What was all that about? Esau asks. Jacob explains, "It was a gift, my lord, to find favor in your sight." But Esau's response is beautiful. He says, "I have enough, my brother. Keep what is yours." He doesn't need Jacob's wealth. He just wanted his brother back. This shows how much Esau has changed. He's no longer the impulsive, angry man Jacob fled from. He's generous and content. But Jacob insists. He pleads with Esau to accept the gift. He says something profound. "For to see your face is like seeing the face of God, now that you have received me favorably." Think about that. For Jacob, experiencing Esau's undeserved grace and forgiveness felt like experiencing God's own grace. It was a divine moment. After Jacob's persistent urging, Esau finally accepts the gift, not because he needs it, but as a seal of their restored relationship. With peace made, Esau suggests they travel together. "Let's go, and I'll lead the way." It's a kind offer, but Jacob is a shepherd, not a soldier. He has to think about his young children and the nursing animals in his flocks. He explains gently, "My Lord knows the children are delicate, and I have to care for the ewes and cows that are nursing their young. If they are driven too hard for even one day, the whole flock will die." He asks Esau to go on ahead, promising to follow at a much slower pace, the pace of the children and the livestock. It's a beautiful picture of a caring leader and father. Esau understands and offers to leave some of his men to help, but Jacob politely declines, saying Esau's favor is all he needs. So, the brothers part ways amicably. Esau heads back to his home in Seir, and Jacob and his camp continue on their journey. Jacob travels to a place called Sukkot, where he builds a house for his family and shelters for his livestock. The name Sukkot literally means shelters. From there, he continues on and finally arrives safely back in the land of Canaan, near the city of Shechem. He's finally home, or at least back in the land promised to his grandfather Abraham. He buys a plot of land from the local Canaanite ruler, a man named Hamor, for 100 pieces of silver. On this land, his own piece of the promised land, Jacob sets up an altar. He calls it El Elohe Israel, which means God, the God of Israel. It's a declaration of faith. He's no longer just Jacob. He's Israel, the one who wrestled with God. And this God is his God. It feels like a happy ending, a peaceful conclusion to a long, tumultuous journey. But sadly, the peace doesn't last long. The story takes a dark and tragic turn. Dinah, the daughter of Jacob and Leah, decides to go out and visit the local women of Shechem. She's likely a young teenager, curious about the world around her. But this innocent visit turns into a nightmare. The prince of the region, a young man also named Shechem, the son of the ruler Hamor, sees her. The text says he took her, lay with her, and violated her. It's a brutal, inexcusable act of violence. What happens next is complicated. After this horrific act, Shechem finds himself genuinely infatuated with Dinah. He feels drawn to her and spoke tenderly to her. He decides he wants to marry her. He goes to his father, Hamor, and says, "Get me this young woman for my wife." He seems to have no understanding of the gravity of what he has done. He thinks he can just fix it by making it official. Meanwhile, word gets back to Jacob. He hears what happened to his daughter, but his response is strangely passive. He says nothing and waits for his sons, who are out in the fields with the cattle. But when the sons return and hear the news, their reaction is the complete opposite. They are filled with grief and white-hot rage. The text says they were furious because he had done a disgraceful thing in Israel. To them, this wasn't just an attack on their sister. It was an attack on the honor of their entire family, their entire nation. The stage is set for a major confrontation. Hamor, the ruler, comes to speak with Jacob and his sons. He tries to smooth things over with a businesslike proposal. He says, "My son Shechem has his heart set on your daughter. Please give her to him in marriage." He then expands the offer, suggesting a full-scale alliance. "Intermarry with us. Give us your daughters and take our daughters for yourselves. You can settle among us. The land is open to you. Live here, trade here, acquire property." Shechem himself steps forward and pleads his case. "Let me find favor in your eyes. Whatever bride price you ask, I will give. Just give me the young woman as my wife." They're treating this as a transaction, completely missing the moral outrage and the deep personal pain they've caused. This is where Jacob's sons take over. They listen to the offer, but their hearts are full of vengeance. The text explicitly states they answered deceitfully because of what had been done to their sister. They propose a condition. "We can't give our sister to a man who is uncircumcised. That would be a disgrace to us." They then lay their trap. "But we will agree on this one condition, that you become like us by circumcising all your males. Then we will give you our daughters and take your daughters for ourselves. We'll live among you and become one people. But if you refuse, we'll just take our sister and leave." This proposal sounds reasonable, even pious, to Hamor and Shechem. To them, circumcision is just a small, physical price to pay for a valuable political and economic alliance, and for Shechem, for the woman he desires. The text notes that the young prince Shechem was the most honored of all his father's household, and he did not delay in carrying out the request because he delighted in Jacob's his daughter. He and his father go to the city gate, the center of public life, and persuade all the men of their city to agree to the terms. They sell it as a great deal. If they undergo this one ritual, all of Jacob's wealth, his flocks, and his property will become theirs. The men of Shechem agree. And so, every single male in the city is circumcised. They are now at their most vulnerable, in pain, and unable to defend themselves. The trap is set, and Jacob's sons are about to spring it. leading to one of the bloodiest and most controversial events in the entire book of Genesis. On the third day, with the men of Shechem still recovering and in pain from their circumcision, something truly shocking happened. Two of Jacob's sons, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's full brothers, grabbed their swords. Filled with rage, they stormed the unsuspecting city and in a brutal act of vengeance, killed every single male. They struck down Hamor and his son Shechem, the very men who had started this whole mess. Then they rescued their sister Dinah from Shechem's house and left. But the story doesn't end there. When Jacob's other sons arrived, they saw the carnage and were overcome with fury about how their sister had been disgraced. They completely plundered the city. They took everything, all the sheep, the oxen, the donkeys, anything of value from the city and the surrounding fields. They seized all the wealth, captured the women and children, and carried off every last thing from inside the houses. It was total devastation. When Jacob found out what had happened, he was furious, but also terrified. He confronted Simeon and Levi, his voice filled with authority. "You have brought disaster upon me," he said. "You've made me a stench in this land, hated by the Canaanites and the Perizzites. We are just a small group. If they band together against us, they will wipe us out, me, my family, everything we have." But his sons were defiant. They shot back, "Should we have let him treat our sister like a prostitute?" Their answer was a question, but their meaning was clear. They felt their actions were justified. In the aftermath of this crisis, God spoke directly to Jacob. "Arise," he said, "go up to Bethel and live there. Build an altar to the God who appeared to you when you were fleeing from your brother Esau. You remember Esau, the fierce, red-haired hunter." This was a call to return to a place of promise and protection. So Jacob gathered his entire household, everyone who was with him, and gave them a command. "Get rid of all the foreign gods you have among you. Purify yourselves and change your clothes. We are going up to Bethel. There I will build an altar to the God who answered me when I was in deep trouble and who has been with me every step of my journey." His family obeyed. They handed over all their idols and even the earrings they wore, which were often linked to pagan worship. Jacob took all these items and buried them under a large oak tree near Shechem, a symbolic act of leaving the past and its pollutions behind. As Jacob and his family traveled, a profound sense of awe and terror from God fell upon all the surrounding cities. No one dared to even think about pursuing them. They were divinely protected. Finally, Jacob arrived with his entire clan at Luz, which is also known as Bethel, in the land of Canaan. There, just as God had commanded, he built an altar. He named the place El Beth El, which means the God of the house of God, because that was the very spot where God had appeared to him all those years ago when he was running for his life from Esau. Around this time, there was a moment of sadness. Deborah, the nurse who had cared for Jacob's mother Rebekah, passed away. They buried her under an oak tree near Bethel, and the place was named Allen Bay Chuth, meaning Oak of Weeping, a testament to how much she was loved. Then God appeared to Jacob again, right there, after his long journey back from Paddan Aram, and he blessed him. God said, "Your name is Jacob, but it will no longer be Jacob. From now on, your name shall be Israel." And so, God himself renamed him Israel. God continued, "I am God Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation, and even a company of nations, will come from you. Kings will be among your descendants. And the land that I gave to Abraham and to Isaac, I now give to you and to your children after you." It was a powerful reaffirmation of the covenant. When God finished speaking, he ascended from the place where he had met with Jacob. To commemorate this incredible encounter, Jacob set up a stone pillar on that very spot. He poured a drink offering on it and then anointed it with oil, dedicating it to God, and he officially named the place Bethel, House of God, because that is where God had spoken to him. But their journey wasn't over. They packed up and continued on. As they were getting close to Ephrath, which we know today as Bethlehem, tragedy struck. Rachel, Jacob's beloved wife, went into labor, and it was a terribly difficult birth. The pain was immense. The midwife tried to encourage her, saying, "Don't be afraid. You're having another son." But Rachel was fading. With her last breath, she named the child Ben-Oni, which means, "Son of my sorrow." But Jacob, now holding his newborn son, called him Benjamin, meaning, "Son of my right hand." Rachel died right there and was buried on the road to Ephrath. Jacob erected a pillar over her tomb, a monument that, according to the text, was still standing for generations as Rachel's memorial. It's a heartbreaking moment. Jacob finally has the son he longed for with Rachel, but he loses her in the process. Israel, as Jacob was now called, moved on again, setting up his camp just beyond a place called the Tower of Eder. And while they were living there, another scandal rocked the family. Reuben, Jacob's firstborn son, slept with Bilhah, who was his father's concubine and Rachel's maid. And the text simply says, "And Israel heard of it." You can feel the weight and the shame in those few words. This brings us to a formal listing of Jacob's 12 sons, the future patriarchs of the 12 tribes of Israel. There were the 6 sons from his wife Leah: Reuben, the firstborn, then Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. The 2 sons from his beloved wife Rachel, Joseph and Benjamin. The 2 sons from Rachel's maid, Bilhah, Dan and Naphtali. And finally, the 2 sons from Leah's maid, Zilpah, Gad, and Asher. These were the sons born to Jacob during his time in Paddan Aram. At long last, after years of separation, struggle, and travel, Jacob came home. He arrived at his father Isaac's home in Mamre, near Hebron, the same place where his grandfather Abraham had also lived. It was a full circle moment. Isaac was very old by this time, and the Bible tells us he lived to be 180 years old. Then, full of years, he died. And in a final act of reconciliation and family duty, Jacob, now 50, and his long-estranged brother Esau came together to bury their father. The 2 brothers, once bitter rivals, stood side by side to lay their father to rest, closing a major chapter in the life of this incredible family. What a journey! From violence and vengeance to divine encounters and heartbreaking loss, Jacob's life is a whirlwind. He is renamed Israel, he buries his beloved wife, and he finally reunites with his father and brother. Through it all, we see God's hand guiding, protecting, and fulfilling his promises, even in the midst of human failure and pain. Thanks so much for watching with me today. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next part of the journey. See you next time